Now, it's been a while. It's been about 2 years now since I made a video on this channel. Don't worry, I haven't abandoned it. I've just been busy, and from the last video, not much happened very quickly. But there has been quite a lot to happen now. So I think all I have to say is welcome back to Wayborn Junction. Roll the intro. So, I hope you enjoyed the intro there. I'm trying to do some better editing on my videos. I want to sort of up the game, really, and give my viewers better. I want to give you better content. So, probably need some explanation. So, it's been about 2 years since my last video on Wayborn Junction, the layout. Now, for people who have watched all my videos and have kept up with the channel, you probably can notice not much has really changed. There's no scenery, there's no ballast apart from the one bit of the outside track on the other side that has been ballasted. Now, I know that seems like this hasn't been touched, but there has been quite a lot to happen really on the layout itself and new arrivals. And if you've been watching the channel long enough, you'll be able to spot them. And that's rolling stock and engines and so on. So basically this video might be lengthy, I'm not entirely sure, but it's basically going to go through all the changes that have happened to the layout, and I will also give you a look through all the new stock that I've gained since the last video, which it will be quite a bit, since it's been nearly 2 years now. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a like and share and all of that. Feel free to comment. And the biggest thing is, please hit that big red subscribe button. I really appreciate it. And I would like to get the numbers up from what they are, from where they are. And I would like to grow the channel, get more people to view it and show, Wayborn Junction itself, and just show the hobby, because it's a great hobby. And yeah, so I hope you enjoy this video, and I shall see you in a minute. So, I think what I'll do with this video is start off with the layout update itself. We'll do rolling stock in a bit, and at the end I might give a little running session, just to get people back into it really. And as I say, if any of you have followed the channel long enough, you might be able to spot some of the new rolling stock and so on. But track changes. So not much has particularly changed, especially the Wayborn side of it. Wayborn has stayed exactly the same. The only thing that has been added is the platform, which I built, and the second one is coming. It's just in the process of being built. The turntable still doesn't work, but we're getting there. And yeah, basically not much has changed track-wise, apart from the freight yard here. So originally, if you go and watch my last video, please do, I had a reception road that came off here just behind one of the crossovers, the inside crossover, and it would come around on a reception into the yard and would connect up to this three-way point, sorry. And basically it was a tight corner, so bigger engines like my 66s, my 9Fs, and my bigger freight engines just couldn't get in the yard. They just they just struggled. They could, but it was just a bit too much strain on the engines, and I didn't really want to do that. So basically what I've been trying to do over the last however long it's been since the last video, is trying to perfect the layout, get everything running perfectly. So when I do ballast everything, I don't have to rip anything up, because it's the last thing I would like to do, really. So, you know, the corners, the point work, I'm just trying to perfect them. So, you know, my expresses run perfectly, my shunters go over the points perfectly. And that is being a little bit of a pain at the moment in the yard, because as you can see, there's quite a bit of point work now. So I'll run you through it. So I moved the curved point from over there to here, literally destroying the whole reception, because basically it just made it a bit smoother. The corner here coming into the station on platform 2, it made it a smoother run-in for the expresses when they run on the inner loop, which won't be too common, purely because it's a tighter radius curves on it, and it's, you know, yeah. And also because the freight yard's on the inner loop, if I ever wanted to change stuff, you have to stop the outside loop and blah, blah, blah. So I moved it here because it fitted really perfectly into the curves, which is probably one of my favourite parts of the layout, is this front curve that comes round and then into this curve, which is a bit tight, but it works. So from here, I basically had the idea of this. Now, this is basically a stabling point for freight locomotives. So if they come in with a freight train, they can stable there temporarily until the next freight train has been organised and ready to go by any of the shunters in the fleet. And yeah, I wanted to make this a refuelling point, but it wouldn't have, I couldn't really work it out, because for diesels, obviously, they need diesel, and the Bachmann refueling point wouldn't have fit in the middle very well at all. And I would have also needed a coal stage and so on for the steamies. So I decided to just leave it. And basically the plan is here in this siding where the towed brake van is, the 20-ton towed brake van, this will become basically a oil storage. So when a train comes in with oil tankers, they will be shunted in here to be unloaded and so on. So as you can see, it comes off the main line by the curved point, and I'll speak to you about why that is like that. And it comes into a left-hand standard point, which then leads into a quite huge siding. After that, it leads into a double slip, and as you can see, it gives me the possibility to go into the yard. I can go into the oil point. I'm not entirely sure what it's going to be called, but we'll call it an oil point for the moment. And it also gives me the ability to go back into the stabling point, which the stabling point can hold 2 big engines, basically with buffers on the end, and so on. This won't be filled like this all the time, because obviously I have Wayborn itself for engines. So this will primarily maybe have 1 engine in it, like big engine, like these two. And primarily it will have 1 or 2 08s sitting in there, or whatever shunter is on the job on the day, basically. And yeah, so from there, not much has changed. It still splits 3 ways into 6 sidings, and I think in my last video this was like this anyway, but basically what happened, I decided to move this point forward for the reason of I needed to do it for them, which I think, as I say, I explained in the last video. Now, these are my point levers, mechanical point levers, and as you can hear and maybe see, they move the points. Obviously, they're point levers, but they're not like Hornby or Gauge Master or Pico electrical ones. These are fully mechanical by wire and lever. And the second one is fitted now. And that took quite a while, because there is a lot of points on this layout, as you can see, because you've got the whole freight yard and that side of the station, and then all that to deal with. So I had some help on this one with my dad, just so I knew what I was actually doing. And basically the second one I did all by myself, and yeah. So from that, that's basically the biggest change to the layout. So this siding, I wasn't particularly sure what I was going to do with it. And if I'm being honest, I still aren't entirely sure. But I think I'm quite stood on keeping it as this, which is a huge long siding. And as I say, if you've been watching the channel long enough, you will know I have a EWS 37. I think it's 37419, I think. And I have 2 rakes of EWS wagons, which are my biggest rake of freight I have. And this siding basically gives me the ability to have them full rakes and a loco on just then. So I don't have to split the train into sections to go in the sidings. And it's just a nice thing. So I can build trains in here with the shunters. And then leave it ready for it to depart with the locomotive, maybe when it's come from the depot. And yeah, so that's really the track plan difference that has happened. Apart from that, not much has happened, apart from niggly little bits like the corners. Like that corner was sorted out, and that one still needs a bit of fiddling, I think. But primarily that's what's happened on the layout. I think also something to point out is there's no sidings here anymore. But as I say, I think that was pointed out in the last video, so I won't go over that. And yeah, so that's the basic track plan done on the layout for the moment. So I think I might move on to the points now, just to show you the underneath and the complex underneath and show you how it works. So underneath the layout, basically the whole fleet sits under here, all the box stuff at least. And here is a complex of wires. This is for, I think, south box or north box. I can't remember which way it is. But as you can see, this is the complex. So on this point lever, there is the last 2 point levers, which you can see here, do not do anything because there was no points to needed switching on these. So all from there, they are usable. And basically how this works and how I did it was, so for example, we'll look at the freight sidings. So the 2 at the end control the crossover over there. And then working inwards basically goes like that. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it's the exact same on this side. It works from the crossovers out to in and then back out to them. And basically underneath the complex is where all of them sprue off to each point. It's not a difficult system to put in when you get the hang of it. It might take a while for you to get the hang of it, but when you can do it, it's pretty easy. And here's the other array of them on this side. It's a bit dark under here, so I probably won't stand here for long. And yeah, so that is the point levers. It's such a good system, purely because you don't have to mess around with electronics. It is a purely, you literally pull it and it switches. You do have to adjust them to get them running perfectly. But when you do, they work fine. And in like future, they might need a little bit more adjusting, but it's literally go under with a screwdriver, move it so little, and that'll fix it. It's so easy. And also, it's just such a great system because you can hear the point change so nicely. It's not like a big like servo motor going. And it's just such a cool way of doing it. And also, as I say, you don't have to rely on electronics since, you know, the layout is powered by electronics. It's just nice that these aren't. And yeah, so that's really the layout itself done. As I say, not much has changed. There might be some changes. I'm not entirely sure yet because I'm constantly thinking of how to improve it before I do anything big like ballasting. But the second platform is slowly on its way. And yeah, so I think now what I'll do is I'll move on to the rolling stock and engines. So since the last video, The fleet at Wayborn Junction has increased, as you can see in front of you. That includes locomotives to coaching stock and wagon stock to die-cast models, and also buildings and structures and so on. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all of it separately and basically just go over it briefly, show you the box. And some of the stock is out on the layout itself. So just as an example, the S15 there is actually out on the layout. And yeah, so the stuff that's out of its box, I shall show out of the box. But stuff like the talisman, I won't be getting it out of the box, but I shall do in a future video when I go through all of this stuff properly. So I'll maybe do a review on the talisman itself, but at this time I won't, purely because I don't want this video to drag on. Since it's my first video back, you know, I don't want to blabber on for too long. So basically I'm going to go through all this separately and briefly, and yeah, hope you enjoy. So starting off with the smallest items that I have that are new are these 4 Land Rovers. Now, I don't think I've shown you my other Land Rovers before, but I adore Defenders and the early Land Rovers. And these 4 bring the, not fleet, but the amount of them to, I think, 16 or 14 or 16 Land Rovers. So I got these as well as one other item from Smith's model shop in Sheringham in Norfolk. They are a new model shop. They started in 2018, and I would highly recommend, if you're ever in Norfolk and in Sheringham, I would highly recommend going. They are not a massive model shop, but they got quite a lot of stock, and they're really friendly, and I highly recommend going. So basically, yeah. So the first one is this one. It is basically just a plain green, long wheelbase Land Rover. It's a Series 2 station wagon, and I just like it. They're just great cars. And yeah, I had to add that one to the collection. So the next one is actually a military one. I do like my military vehicles and military history and that in general, so I had to pick this one up as well. This is I think this is a Series 2 again, but I will check. A Series 2 LWB station wagon, 44th Home Counties Infantry Division. And yeah, so basically it's identical to that one, but it's a military one instead. The next one I really like because I've never seen it before, and I didn't even know they existed. But this is a Royal Mail Post Office recovery vehicle. So this is another Land Rover, obviously. It's a short wheelbase, and it is a Series 2 again. But it's a 2A SWB hardtop Royal Mail PO recovery, which I just really liked. It's so cute, and you can't really go wrong with any Defender or Land Rover, because this is technically not a Defender, but they're quite similar. But I thought that was just really cute and just adorable in its red livery. So yeah. And the last one is a Defender. It's a 110, and it's a network rail long wheelbase Land Rover Defender 110. And yeah, it's got ladder on top. And yeah, not much to the colour, obviously, because it's just plain white, like network rail vehicles are. And yeah, I just picked it up because it was just nice to go with the more modern era fleet, like my Pendolino and my 66s and so on. So yeah, that's the vehicles out the way, the road vehicles. So we shall move on to the next item. The next item is this, the Wayborn water crane and tank. Now this also came from Smith's as well as the 4 Land Rovers. And there's not really any explanation into buying this. It's quite obvious. Since the layout is based off Wayborn, I had to have the Wayborn water crane and tank. I actually do already have a water tank of the same style as you can see there, but this is more accurate. But this is from earlier, not earlier. So basically, at Wayborn they have painted it up since it looked like this. So this is not accurate to today, but it used to look like this, the water tank at least. So yeah, I shall probably paint that water tank up as it is today. So then maybe I could swap them out when I would like to, since not much else at the station has changed, particularly apart from the colour of the water tank. So yeah, not much to really see. I mean, it's a water tank like that one and a water crane, and that's about it. Very good. I love Bachmann Scenicraft. They produce the Wayborn Bridge as well. I would like them to produce more of the Wayborn stuff, especially the station building itself, and the waiting room, purely because no one has made them, and it would just be nice, since they've got the bridge, which is probably one of the main features at Wayborn, and they've also done the crane and the tank. It would just be nice for them to do the station building. I mean, I would love them to make the actual shed depot, but I think that would be a little bit too much since it's massive. But yeah, very nice model, and highly recommend Bachmann Scenicraft. So on to the next item. So the next item is another Bachmann model, but not Scenicraft. This is actually a railway wagon. So as I say, this is the one item I'm not sure if you have seen, but I thought I would just show you anyway. So this is a GWR Shunters wagon. I bought this when I saw Flying Scotsman at the Nene Valley. And this is the Old Oak Common one. So it ran at Old Oak Common. There is the barcode, and I shall show you the barcode for the water tower as well. It's a nice model. It's great. I just haven't got any GWR tank engines to run with it, so I normally run it with my R8 because it then gets use. But yeah, great little thing, and it's just quite nice to have it because it's just a bit unique, since not really many other big 4 companies had these apart from the GWR. Great little model, and another great model by Bachmann, basically. And then there's the barcode for the water crane. On to the next item. So next item is this, a box. No, it's actually a 7-plank wagon. This is a exclusive model to the Bure Valley, and it's a privately owned wagon, which I do have actually here. I shall just roll it into shot quick. There we go. So here it is. It's a nice 7-plank wagon in a quite, what do you call it? Quite a bright colour, really, for a wagon. And boldly put on the side is Gardner. It's from Norwich as well, so it's from Norfolk. It would have ran in Norfolk, which is where the Bure Valley is. What a coincidence. But yeah, it was quite nice to get, since it was exclusive to the Bure Valley. And just a nice little wagon to add to the wagon collection, really. And yeah, nice little wagon, and just a great model from Bachmann again. So on to the next item. So again, an empty box, but no, this was actually a quite important item, and there is 3 of them. So these are very rare, or they seem to be at least, and these are the Sea Cow ballast hoppers by Hornby in the Dutch civil engineers livery. So here they are. There is only 3. I was planning to get 6 from a guy on Facebook, which is where I got these from, but the other 3 were damaged, and I didn't really want to purchase damaged wagons. So I bought the 3 that were in good condition, which are these 3, and I'm really happy with them because they will go with my 80s to 90s era stock, so my Network Southeast stock and so on. I really love the Civil Engineers livery. It's quite plain but stands out, and I also just love these wagons as well, and especially what they were used for. You had double-headed Class 33s on them, 37s and 31s as well, I think, but they weren't as common 31s because they were put on more different trains. But I do hope to extend this to about a 9 rake set, which will be pulled by a 37 eventually and other locomotives. But yeah, just a great set of wagons, and I really do love them, and a great addition to the 80s era stock. So this next item is again to do with 80s era and 90s era, because I'm really wanting to expand that era of the fleet, since most of the fleet consists of steam, and I do love diesels. I think that was one of the greatest eras of British Railways in general. So here we have a VTG ferry wagon. These were seen quite commonly around in the 80s and 90s. I think more the 80s though, and early 90s. And yeah, quite a unique wagon really. Made by Dapple, as you can see by the box. I shall show you the barcode, not barcode, but the code. There you go. As you can see in the box, you do get actual loads for them, which is quite cool. And actually, it all slides open. I won't slide it fully open since I'm doing that one-handed. I think it's a nice feature that Dapple did that. It's a bit bizarre though, since most of the time this wagon is going to be running round the layout, and they didn't run open for obvious reasons. But I think it's just a nice feature that Dapple did that, because most companies wouldn't have done that, and I just like that Dapple went to that little extra effort to do so, which I think really intrigues the buyer to do so. And yeah, so this was a common sight to be pulled by quite a lot of locomotives really, but mostly in just mixed freight trains really, and just a nice wagon since it's quite unique really. And yeah, great model, and I really do love it. Now, this item actually consists of quite a few. So basically for my birthday, I really was desperate to get some coaching stock for my 50s, because I didn't have anything. All of mine is basically British Rail, so 1950s, 60s, which obviously goes nowhere near the era of Network Southeast. So I was on eBay and I found these 6 Mark 1s for sale, and they were in blue and grey. And I was like, that's great. And for the price, I couldn't say no. So in the 80s, it took British Rail a long time to paint everything. So for the early Network Southeast era and even into the late era, you still had a lot of Mark 1s and so on still in blue and grey. So I thought that would be perfect to go with my 2 existing Network Southeast coaches, which you have seen on the channel before. And to add to the Network Southeast coaches, I did get one more, which is a brake, which actually is somewhere on here. And yeah, so I shall show you these since they are out of the box and on allow. So they are just blue and grey coaches. There's no particular, it's not a particular rake. There's quite a lot of doubling up, and they're not exactly right for sort of my 80s era I'm going for. I'm going for a Western region era, so sort of when the 50s had left the West Coast main line and moved over to Paddington, but just before they moved to Waterloo in their last legs of life. So these coaches are Midland based, as you can see by the M and the number. So I might change them. I'm not normally that picky, but I might, just because it'd be nice to just know their western region. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, they are blue and grey Mark 1s, as you can see. And then there is the Backman. They're all Backman, but here's one of my Network Southeast coaches. And more blue and greys. And another Network Southeast. And then the last one is my break, which I got recently as well. Which I think I got the Bure Valley as well, as alongside the VTG ferry wagon. So that is a nice 9-rake 1980s era coach rake for the 50s that I do have in the fleet, and is a nice addition to the layout. On to the next item. The next item is a locomotive, and quite a small locomotive, as you can see. This is one of Hornby's Terriers, one of the newer releases, as you can see, in BR lined black with early emblem. Now, any of you keen viewers will notice the number 32655, that being the number of quite doubtedly one of the most legendary steam locomotives and one of the most cutest steam engines on earth, which is Stepney, the Bluebell engine. And yeah, so I was on Facebook, like I do, and I saw this guy selling loads of Terriers. It was too many, really. And all of them were old releases. And then I noticed that this one he had, and I noticed it by the barcode because it was quite, I could tell it was a recent model. And he had it really cheaply. He had it at the same price as all the older ones he had. And I was like, this can't be true. And it was. So it was basically brand new condition. And I just had to get it. It did arrive with a broken buffer. One of the buffers had broken off, but I just glued it back on and it seems to be fine now. She does run quite rough at low speed, but I think it's just not, I think, as he said, it hasn't had a service for so long, it needs one. So it will be getting one eventually. But yeah, this is the closest I will get to having a genuine Stepney since my plans to get Stepney went downhill. I wanted to get the Hornby Brighton Works, the Collectors Club model, and then rename it into Stepney, since Brighton Works is an A1X like this and like Stepney is today. But basically, when I went to the Collectors Club, I was way too late. So I'm just on a search to find one, really. So I can rename it into Stepney and have the, the proper Stepney, really. But yeah, this Stepney in this livery was in the time period where she would have been working at the Hayling Island branch in her, not last years, but quite a lot of the last years for a lot of her sister engines of the Terriers. And this is where they really proved themselves as worthy engines to keep on. And yeah, I really recommend looking the history up of the Hayling Island branch and these little Terriers that ran the line for so long and right to the end of steam. These little tank engines, which already by then were way too old really to still be going, still were proving their worth on the British Railway network. So a great model, and I really highly recommend these models, these Hornby Terriers. They are magnificent models for how small they are, the detail and everything. So yeah, on to the next item. So the next loco is this, the YURI S15. This is one of my personal favourite freight locomotives built by Southern, and actually as a whole for British Railways on the British Isles, really. I've always loved these engines purely because when you look at it, you would never really look at it and think that's a freight engine, purely because it doesn't. This is obviously a 460 design, as you can see, And this had a lot of appearance similarities to the N15s that were also designed by YURI. And yeah, they just don't look like a freight engine, and that's what I've always loved, is they just stand out. And yeah, they were built for the LSWR as well as the N15s by YURI, and they were built to haul heavy freight workings to the ports on the south coast, which is where the Southern ran to, so Southampton and Portsmouth and so on. This model is in plain black with early emblem and is number 30842. I really do love this model. It runs magnificently and you can't fault it. It still amazes me when it runs around the layout behind a freight train. It doesn't look right, but at the same time it does. I really love this design purely because it's so unique, and it's a great model by Hornby, and I can't fault it. The code for this is R3412 and is an S15, obviously. This I bought from the Bure Valley again, and I bought this when I got the the wagon, the Gardener wagon. I bought it quite cheaply as well, and as I say, I've loved every minute of having it. It's a great engine to have, and also it's quite a nice engine to have to run alongside my Merchant Navy and my Battle of Britain. And yeah, I can't fault it. It's a unique locomotive, and I adore it. So yeah, on to the next locomotive. So moving on to the next locomotive, which coincidentally is another freight locomotive. This being a locomotive from the competing side to the Southern, which is where the S15 comes from. And it is a GWR Class 3800, designed by Collett and originated from the Class 2800 designed by Churchwood. The 3800 basically had a few upgrades, really. And that was about it. Not much really changed to it, especially cosmetically. The looks, they look identical. You couldn't really tell the difference at all. And not many were made at all either. These were built for the heavy freight traffic of the GWR, mainly from South Wales, which included your collieries and the heavy coal traffic that the GWR had to endure. And yeah, so this model is in plain black with Lake Crest, and as you can see is a stunner. Really looks nice. The only thing with this model is on this side of the tender, on the left hand side, it does have one or two marks which seem to actually be scratches into the paint. So when I weather it, I'll probably paint over it or just weather over it and hide it. I do have future plans for this engine, weathering wise. I would like to heavily weather this, since firstly with the crest, this means it was late 1950s to early 60s, and yeah, so this being a freight engine would have been not cleaned much, and I think a heavy weathering look will look really good on this model. The code for this model is R2919X. This actually being a DCC fitted model from factory, which was really cool, purely because I don't have to DCC fit it. It came from John Duffield's. I've mentioned them quite a few times on the channel. It's a great model shop and so on, but I won't blabber on about that. As I say, great model, and just a great model from Hornby, really. So on to the next one. So the next model is this. This is a Class 66, as you can see. It is a shed, and this is a limited edition model, which was produced to thank the NHS, and is named Captain Tom Moore after the hero himself. Unfortunately, as most of you will know, he passed away a while back, so rest in peace. But this model really shows delivery nicely. Thanking the NHS for all their work and massive contribution to the pandemic, as everyone shall know. And yeah, it's named Captain Tom Moore, a true British inspiration. It is a Hornby Class 66, so the detail is not magnificent, but I never expected it when I bought the model. I bought it mainly for the reason, if I'm being honest, is because Hornby announced when they announced this that all the money they earned from it was going to go to the NHS. So when I paid, I think it was £80 for this, in my head, it was my little thing to help the NHS. Obviously, I wasn't able to do much because of schoolwork and so on. You know, I couldn't run a marathon or do whatever. But this was my little contribution to help the NHS. And also I got a model out of it to remind us of, firstly, Captain Tom Moore, and also the great work that the NHS do. And yeah, great model and just great packaging as well. On the back, as you can see, there's the actual locomotive is as well. And yeah, a great model, and I think just a great way to help in a special way, really. So I'm really happy with this model, and I couldn't ask for any more, really. So on to the next one. The next locomotive is this. As you can see, another Dapple model, and actually my first Dapple locomotive. This is, as you can see, a Class 68, a cat as they are nicknamed, and I'm so pleased with this model. I went up to York, not last year, the year before, I think. And when I was there, I saw a Class 68. I saw two, actually. One was called Lord President and one was called Destroyer. So when I heard that Dapple were bringing out Destroyer, I had to get my hands on one. It actually took a long while to get one, and this was actually a surprise gift for my birthday. I didn't actually know though it was coming because we couldn't find one. My parents and me, we couldn't find one for love of the money. They'd all sold out. But John Duffield saved the day and had one. This is, I'll quickly show you, this is in the Transpennine livery, which in my opinion is the best livery this locomotive holds, and is one of my favourite liveries of today. So here it is. It's such a striking livery. And as I say, it's a locomotive I've seen in real life, so it means a lot more than just buying a Transpennine Class 68, sorry. So yeah, I'm looking really forward to when Aquascale bring out the Mark 5s to go with them, because that will look a very sweet bit of kit. So great model. It's got some heft to it. It really, you get it out of the box and you're like, oh wow, this has got some weight. You know, you look at any other diesels like the Class 50s done by Hornby, you pick them up and you're like, oh wow, that's a heavy locomotive. But these really are competitor in weight, I think. And I haven't like tested it on haulage, but I can tell you now, this thing will be able to haul some weight. And yeah, an amazing model by Dapple. The detail and everything, magnificent. And also the packaging is made of something different. The code for this, I shall show you. There we go. And yeah, really pleased with this model. As I say, I've seen it in real life, so it's just so much better. And yeah, you will be definitely seeing this a lot more when it's DCC fitted. So on to the next item. So this is the last item. This is, as you can see, the Talisman. This is a Hornby train set, as well as you can see. And it is a 1960s train set, or 1950s, late 1950s to early 1960s. This is a train pack, as you can see, with coach pack. So it comes with a locomotive and 6 coaches, and that is the coach pack as well. Then you get 6. The train pack itself comes with 3. So I'm really happy with this because this can run along the Northumbrian, which you've seen in previous videos. I won't go into much detail, but this has a A3 in it, a Gresley A3, and as you can see, it's a Lake Crest Brunswick lined green, number 60039 Sandwich, and this is depicted at the time where she was fitted with a double chimney but no smoke deflectors. She holds a non-corridor, non-streamlined tender, and it's a brilliant model. The only thing that is a problem with it is it has a mark on this side of the body, and I'm not sure how to get it off. So any suggestions, please put in the comments. As I say, it's an amazing model. Obviously, it's one of Hornby's A3/A1s. You can't go wrong with them. The coaches are just Hornby's Bob standard old Mark 1s. Like my set of 6 that you've seen on the channel many a time before. Here they are, actually. The only difference between them and these is these ones have the talisman actually on them, the headboards. It's an amazing set. It's a limited edition out of 2,500. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. The only thing is the mark that really annoys me, but I'll get over that eventually when I sort it out. But apart from that, it's an amazing set for the price that I paid. I got this really cheaply, as well as the coach pack. I got this cheaper than actually how much the coach packs are going for separately. So I'm really pleased. So this will run along the A4s and so on. So yeah, that is the last item of the new arrivals. So now I shall say goodbye, basically. I'm basically going to do a little running session to end off the video. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video, the update and the update on the new arrivals, and also the new intro. I put a lot of effort into that, so I hope you do like it. And yeah, hope you like the running session, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.